talk about the hardware today. Compact Logic trainer. Training hardware consists of Compact Logic PLC, specifically a 1769 L36 ERM point IO rack, or sometimes referred to as a chassis. PowerFlex variable frequency drive, or VFD. These are PowerFlex 40s. Ethernet switch and panel view 600 operator interface terminal, or OIT. And then an array of various switches, lights, indicators, blah, blah, blah. Okay. That is a picture of one of the trainers. That technically is in the wrong place. It says that is the PLC. It's actually referring to this whole thing, but by definition, that is the PLC. That is the power supply, and these are I/O modules. So technically, the one is in the wrong place. Then you have the panel view, which is the touch screen up there in the upper right corner. 3 kind of hard to see, I guess, but that's the remote point rack I/O. Ethernet switch is down there in the lower left corner. These all have Stratix switches on them, but they are not managed Stratix switches. So it'd be no different than if you went to Walmart and bought a Linksys. Number 5 is the VFD. We are going to have to get out the motors so we can hook them up to the VFDs and make them actually do stuff. And then 6 is your switches and buttons and bibs and bobs and doodads and whatnot. Okay. On the PLC itself, that's it. A, one there on the left, is the CPU PLC itself. B is the power supply. C is discrete I/O. Yes, it is in fact I/O. It is a combination module. You have 6 inputs and 4 outputs on the module. And then D is analog I/O. F2 is combo module. You have 2 analog in, 2 analog out on that module. Okay. On the analog, it is capable of either voltage or current, depending upon how you have the module configured. The panel view, a 6-inch color touchscreen. I need to update that slide. A lot of people call that an HMI. It is not. Well, technically it is, but HMI is an inaccurate description of what that is. I mean, this is an HMI. HMI is a human-machine interface. I am the human, that is the machine, this is the interface. Okay.
Would a GUI be a more accurate term for it? No?
No, you're thinking computer program.
Yeah.
So operator interface terminal, or OIT, that is is more accurate because when you say terminal, you are specifying that it is a fully digital device. Your point rack I/O is called point rack because 1734 I/O is branded as point I/O by Rockwell. So nothing on the point rack works without A, which is the power supply network adapter. This is an AENT. They also make an AENT2. It's the AENT2 is for device level ring DLR, which we are not doing on these controllers. You don't get into DLR to PLC3. B is an 8.24-volt syncing input. C is a 4.24-volt sourcing output. You guys know what the difference is between syncing and sourcing?
Oh. This is the
Syncing pulls in, sourcing comes
Syncing
out.
is. This is an ITI, right?
PLC1.
No, PLC1, I'm saying it's ITI.
I think you covered that too.
You sync it. Oh my God.
I want to say syncing, it's taking in power, or sourcing is something out. That's too early last semester.
Syncing.
That's the same things though.
Well, I think Aiden feels he ain't been in PLC1 since 22. It's all about the direction of the current flow. It is electron theory. But you have to picture that.
Yeah.
We good?
Yeah.
Oh, electron.
When you sync current, you have to have a positive voltage. So that 8.24-volt syncing input, in order to turn the out or the input on, you have to give it a positive 24 volt. Okay. The sourcing output is going to give you a positive 24 volt. Okay. So it's all about the direction of the current flow. D is a 2-point analog input. E is E is 2-point analog output. F is a very high-speed counter, or VHSC, and G is the power module for the VHSC. Pass these around. If you look at the label on the side, tells you what they are. This one, just so it shows power connections, and this one shows actual inputs. But pay close attention to the part number that's on there. A PowerFlex 40 VFD with Ethernet adapter. The PowerFlex 4 and PowerFlex 40 have the same Ethernet adapter on them. Without the Ethernet adapter, the face is just flat. This one has got the part that sticks out about 1.5 inches or so to house the actual module, and it plugs into the drive itself through a ribbon cable. If it does not have the Ethernet module, it doesn't stick out, and you won't see the 4 LEDs on the front of it. Export Ethernet switch, and then various switches, pilot lights, analog, numeric display, and analog potentiometer. You would think that before they took a picture of that, they'd wipe the fingerprints off of the display, but I guess not. The way that that display works is actually kind of weird. You have to apply a voltage or hook an output up to it before it'll even turn on. Some of those seem like that. Normally, it would just display 0 until you give it a signal. It won't have power applied to it. But the signal that you send to it is what applies power to it. You can turn it off. So it's kind of weird. So, setting up training equipment and making the appropriate connections. We're going to, when we do the lab, we're going to hook everything up. So located at the bottom left side of the trainer is an Ethernet switch. From this switch, there is a cable that connects the switch to each of the devices in your local network. It does not matter which cable is plugged into which port, as long as all are connected. However, there's always a but, right? The cable that goes to the OIT is already connected to the OIT in back, when you can't see it. You have the one that is connected to the PLC itself, you have one that goes to the point rack, and then the one that goes to the VFD, I have on most of them, actually, not all. One end of that cable goes to the VFD, the other end goes to the switch. Everybody just grabs the Ethernet cable and starts plugging jacks into the switch. One of those cables goes from the switch in and does a loop and comes right back out, plugs into the VFD. Now you can't see the Ethernet port on the VFD unless you look under it. So people just plug everything in, but it doesn't matter which port you plug the cable into. We end up plugging the same cable into 2 different ports on the switch, and it confuses it. And your VFD doesn't work. So definitely need to pay attention to that whenever we do actually hook up. These cables used to have numbers on them. Some of them still do. Cable 1, cable 2, and so on. And that's what these numbers refer to. Maybe when we get time, we'll make new labels and put them on there. So located at the bottom right-hand side of the trainer is the power connection. Plug the female in the power cable into the receptacle. Make sure that the male is attached to a 120 volt AC receptacle on the wall or your surge compressor. The uprights on the benches are surge compressors, so we just plug into those. Make the final connection with an Ethernet cable from the Ethernet switch to APC, which is not shown, running the Rockwell automation applications, which are Artist View, Studio ME, and Studio 5000 for the programming. And then you may power on the training demo The indicator lights should illuminate various places on each of the devices, indicating that they are in fact powered. That's the end of their slideshow. Piece of cake upside down, right? So,